Hey guys, Timothy Roberts here. In this video, I'm going to be taking one of my own original cymbals and I'm going to be shaving it down in weight for the customer that purchased it. So currently it's a 22-inch labyrinth ride and it weighs 25-40 grams. And I'm going to be taking at least 200 grams off, maybe 250 at the most. Just wanting to drop the pitch a little bit and fit it more into what this drummer wants out of their main ride. So I would say that, you know, for the cymbals that I make, 25-40 gram ride is kind of on the medium side, but this would be classified a medium thin or even a thin cymbal if it was from a mass manufactured other company that makes cymbals. So this is one of my medium rides. This is kind of the ride that I aim at the Bill Stewart sound. So we're going to get this thing dropped in pitch, and then we're going to make sure that it has the control that it needs and that the spread doesn't kind of get out of hand. We want this thing to have a dry stick and that stick to sit out on top, but I'm wanting to drop the pitch of it a little bit lower so that it works for this drummer. So let's take a listen to it, then I'll show you guys the lathing of this cymbal and show you a before and after, and you guys can let me know what you think. All right, let's cut this thing. All right, so here I am in my shop doing the lathing. I'm starting on the underside here, and what I'm doing is starting from the bell, working my way out. When you lathe, you go from the bell out, you go from the edge in, all depending on really how you want to do it, but there's also reasons for doing in to out or out in. And currently right now you can see a lot more material is flying off the cymbal, and this is where I'm digging in a little bit more. I'm able to, what I do is I drop my shoulder a little bit, which gives me more leverage into the cymbal, so that blade can come in with more force and it takes off more material. So there's all different kinds of variables when you're lathing. There's the shape of the cutting tool, there's the angle at which you hold it. There's a twisting motion, which is why I have a little handle on my tool. You can see with the pink tape there, I'm able to, I twist sometimes, I drop my shoulder for more leverage. Really, lathing is an art in and of itself, and requires a lot of care and attention when you're lathing a cymbal. So currently right now I just took some weight off the bottom, and I'm using the scrap bronze to just clear the surface. And then I'm getting my sanding block just to touch up the edge, because when you're lathing out past the edge of the cymbal, you really run the risk of just creating a knife edge that can slice you. And I've sliced my hand many times doing this. So I'm just gonna go in and clean the edge there with the sanding block, and then some abrasive, an abrasive pad. And I'm just going to do a little bit at a time. When I do this process, I'm typically doing a little bit of weight removal, and then checking it, and then doing a little bit more. Obviously, you can't go backwards, so it's always better to go slow and methodical. And so now I took off that backing, and I'm just flipping the cymbal over to get the first pass on the top. So spinning the nut on, and with the top surface, a lot like hammering, lathing is a way to put in some more tension or loosen the tension. So, or you know, you can also use the term stiffness. So you can add some stiffness in, you can take some stiffness out. And when you're lathing the top, especially when I drop my shoulder to get a lot of torque and force into the cymbal, I'm actually putting in some tension and kind of stiffening up the bronze on the top so that it's not so loose and floppy. When I'm lathing the underside, I can put some force in, and that helps to loosen the stiffness, loosen the tension a little bit. So this is another way in which lathing is hugely important and a really important part of dialing in the overall sound, a lot like hammering is, because hammering is compressing the bronze in particular ways, and you can hammer the underside a bunch and then you can just deform the metal and kind of loosen it off. And what I like to use the analogy, this is not a perfect analogy, but I like to use the analogy of a guitar string. When you detune a guitar string, you're lowering the pitch, and at a certain point you take all the tension out of that string, and it doesn't have enough tension in it to make a sustaining sound. So if I were to just take a cymbal that's already made and then just hammer the underside a ton, I would reach a point at which I would completely detension the cymbal, and it wouldn't make a sustaining note. It would just sound like a clunky metal thing that had tons of attack and no sustain. So you do these things to dial in the sound of your cymbal. You hammer in a way to dial in the stiffness that you want. You go to the lathe and you do the same thing. So the lathing is not at all about only removing material or only adding a taper. There is a whole another element of it that's really about dialing in the sound that comes from that cymbal. And if you want to have a little bit more looseness, or if you want a really stiff, tight cymbal, and the benefits to each, there are numerous different benefits to having a stiff cymbal versus a loose cymbal. Stiff cymbals can give you a little bit more stick clarity, but conversely, if you were to take a cymbal that maybe has too much mid-range, and if you were to drop some of the stiffness, drop some of the tension down, you could actually take that mid-range note and drop the pitch of it lower, which can help the perception of your stick definition. So you can add stick definition or add to the perception of stick definition in a ton of different ways depending on how you approach the particular piece. So I've just finished lathing the top surface of this cymbal, and I'm going to grab a cymbal stand here, and we are just going to take a quick listen to the cymbal in its current state. Like I said, a lot of stiffness here, so the metal needs to rest before it's actually going to open up, but this is giving me an idea of the pitch. All right, so after playing the cymbal, it's not quite where I want it to be. I want to take off a little bit more weight. So I'm going to go in and do a little bit of removal from the top, and then a good amount of removal from the bottom. Now, I don't always do this with my cymbals. Usually when I finish a cymbal, I want it to be finalized, but in this case, I wanted to work with the customer because they love the character of the cymbal. They just wanted it in a little bit of a lighter weight. So I'm going to take more weight off of the bottom than I would necessarily want to, and this is going to be detensioning the cymbal, loosening off the cymbal in a way that I'm going to need to compensate for. Now, the reason I'm taking the weight off of the bottom, which you'll see in a second, I flip the cymbal over and I'm going to remove a good amount. The reason I'm doing it from the bottom is because I have my little metal stamp already in the top surface of this cymbal, and if I lathe over top of that stamp, it creates a little bit of chatter, and I'm just basically lathing away the indent of my Timothy Roberts stamp that I put in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do more weight removal from the bottom and taper it a little bit more at the edge, because I don't want to lathe over the top stamp portion, which I have out at the edge of my cymbal. So given the fact that I'm coming in here and I'm taking off weight from the underside of the cymbal, I'm kind of detensioning it. I am going to take it past the point that I want it. I actually want it to be a little bit more stiff because it's going to be a thin cymbal. I don't want it to be so floppy that it has a too loose of a feel, or it has almost like a tremolo effect where it's actually flapping and you hear the flap of the edges of the cymbal in the sustain of the cymbal. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a process called burnishing. So right now I'm dropping my shoulder pretty good. I'm taking off a good amount of material. I'm not at all going light with it. And I'm not going up into the bell either. I'm just going right up to the edge of the bell. This is a hand-formed bell on this cymbal, so I want to keep as much material up there so we have a really nice, clear, strong bell sound. So I did that work, and edging it again. This is the final edging process. And then I'm going to take it off here in just a second. I'm going to tap on it with my fingers to make sure that I'm generally in the right place that I want to be in with the pitch of the cymbal. And once that is the case, I'm going to go in and do this process called burnishing. But let's take a little quick listen to me tapping on the cymbal just so you can hear what that weight removal did, and watch the cymbal too if you can kind of see it. You can see it's got a good amount of flap to the edges. It's loosened off quite a bit, which is not what I want for the final process. So I'm going to do this process called burnishing. I'm going to flip it back over, put it on the top, and then you're going to see I'll take my tool in just a second here, and I'm going to flip it over. So the top surface with the cutting bit is a carbide blade that actually cuts the material, but the other side of my tool right here is just a steel rod. It's rounded at the edge. And so now I'm doing what's called burnishing or blunt lathing, pressure lathing, whatever you want to call it. I'm basically pressing into the metal, and that rounded over steel rod is not going to be cutting away material, but it is adding in that stiffness that I want. I want to tighten it back up after the weight removal I did on the bottom, and this tightening back up is going to help with the clarity of the stick. It's going to help maintain a stiffness that's not going to allow the cymbal to flap so much that you hear a tremolo effect, or you get kind of a weird, mushy, slow response to the crash of the cymbal. This stiffness really does help with thin cymbals maintain stick clarity. It also gives it a brilliant finish, which is due to the fact that the top portion of the bronze has been compressed somewhat. All right, here it is after the weight removal and after a day of resting. So I've given it time. Even when there's not hammering, if you're just lathing a cymbal, it will still sound a bit choked when you play it right after you take it off the lathe. So I let it sit for a day. I did actually film a video of myself playing it right after it came off the lathe. So when we do the back-to-backs at the end of this video, I'll just tag them right next to each other so you can hear the before, right after the lathing, and then after a day's worth of rest. You can see it's got a shiny finish. I lathed off my patina, like I said, and the customer is super happy with the look as is, so we're not going to be adding a patina back on. And the new weight is 2330 grams, so I removed 210 grams off the cymbal, and it's dropped the pitch, but we've retained the character of the ride for the most part, and the stick definition still sits out clearly on top. So let's take a listen, and you guys let me know what you think. One thing you saw at the very end of that lathing video was I turned my lathe tool around, and I was lathing with the blunt end, so it wasn't actually removing material, but it was doing what's called burnishing or blunt lathing. And this addition of pressure helps harden the outer part of the bronze, which can help tighten things up. I was also using a bit that I have sharpened in a particular way so that it is burnishing as it cuts. So it is cutting, but it's also kind of compressing the metal, and I'm able to use a bit more force, and it's not just smoothly cutting the metal like butter. It's actually adding in some pressure, some tension, so that I can retain that kind of tight stick out on top and that separation. Again, for me, it's all about separation of the different frequencies in a cymbal. because if it's all too close together, then you just get a muddy sounding cymbal that's ill-defined, and it's hard to get that cymbal to speak clearly. So overall, I'm happy with this little mini mod on this original, but I would love to know what you guys hear or what you guys think, and I'll go ahead right now and clip together all of the clips so you can hear before, right after lathing, and then right after it's had a day of rest. Drop a comment below, subscribe, and hit the bell if you haven't, and we'll talk to you guys next time. See ya.